Now joining me in studio is Tom Schimmerling of Schimmerling Injury Law. Today we are going to discuss a really important legal topic and one that stops some people from filing an injury case, even when they deserve compensation. The idea of having to deal with a trial or going to court. Most people don't relish the idea of having to relive one of the worst moments of their lives in front of a jury. So Tom, how are you doing today?
Good, how are you doing?
I'm not too bad. So let's just get right into it. So say I get hurt and I file a personal injury case. How likely is it that I'm going to have to go to court?
Very, very unlikely. I would say statistically, only about 3% or less of cases wind up in court. Where you're trying a case in front of a jury. Very few cases. Most of them settle out of court either before it goes into litigation or after litigation starts. But actually being through the stress of a trial it's very unlikely.
Yeah, and what would that process look like from my vantage point if I filed a personal injury case?
Well, if you file a claim with an attorney, the first thing that would happen is, aside from signing documents to get your medical records and that sort of thing, what we would do is look into the liability situation. Like, how did this accident happen? Whether it's a fall injury or medical malpractice or car accident, that sort of thing. Is there liability? Who is at fault for the accident? And then we also look into your medical situation. Were you injured? If you weren't injured, it's just not a case. And how bad was the injury? And just make sure we get a complete list of all your medical providers at that point. And also, very, very important, is to find all the insurance coverages involved. If you have a driver, an owner, or two different people, if it's a car accident, how much insurance do they each have? Does the injured party have underinsured motorist coverage? Because you can have liability and you can have bad injuries, but if there's no way to get compensated by insurance, it's really not a case that's going to go very far.
Absolutely. And how important is it that I consult with an attorney?
Well, it sounds self-serving, but an attorney can jump into that case and make sure that everything goes smoothly. The system isn't really set up for people representing themselves. I mean, in the course of my career, rarely have I ever seen a person, being offered the full value of their injury, without an attorney. And the insurance company's own studies have shown that people who have a lawyer, on the average, get 3.5 times more money than people who settle directly with the insurance company. It's really, it's their own study.
Yeah. And how does calling an attorney help with that?
Well, if you have an experienced lawyer, they know all the tricks the insurance company's going to try to pull and how to avoid them. And, be able to advise the client, the injured party, on what they're supposed to do. Like, for example, make sure you get to your medical appointments. Every once in a while, life happens. You can't attend an appointment, but if you just kind of decide to just bear through the pain and I'm not going to bother going to the doctor, it's, pretty much the insurance companies look at that as you're fine. I don't ever want anyone going to the doctor if they don't need to. We don't play that game. But, if you are, in need of medical attention, if you got a fracture and it's been set and you just say, well, I'll just take this cast off myself. I've seen that happen. I've seen people decide, well, I don't need a doctor to take this cast off. And, my mother never had a fracture, but she hated going to doctors. She did not like going to doctors. She would have been a terrible plaintiff.
Absolutely. And if I started to file a personal injury case, what would kind of happen next after that?
Well, we would get all your medical records, I said, and get the accident report, go out to the scene, usually maybe take some measurements, take photographs and that sort of thing. Hopefully you will have had some photographs of the damaged cars, if it's a car accident, and that sort of thing.
And why do so many of these cases settle outside of court?
Well, there again, it comes down to dollars and cents. I mean, once the issue of liability has been settled, either, because it's obviously one person's fault, or there's sort of an agreement, okay, well, this is sort of a 50-50 thing, then the next issue is, what are the damages? And after taking depositions, medical examinations via defendant's doctor, and your own doctor writing reports, you get kind of a pretty good idea of what the injuries are. And, the insurance companies, if they know you're ready to go to court, they'll want to make a reasonable offer.
And is that why it's important to involve an attorney?
Yes, because, they just try to intimidate people who act as their own attorney, and some people will, think they're doing a good job. And I'm sure in the course of time, there are people who've done a splendid job representing themselves in an accident case, but they're very few and far between.
Absolutely. And how long does it usually take to receive the compensation?
Well, that is a very touchy question. I mean, it could be as little as within 6 months. It could be 6 months to a year. It depends on the factors involved. I mean, I had a case that involved, we sued like 4 or 5 entities, and there were some liability issues, and this case went on for, I don't want to tell you how long it went on for. We finally ended up with a great settlement, but it took a very long time. But that's the exception. I would say most cases settle within 6 months to a year.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Tom, for joining me today. And you can watch Lawyers on Call only on Around the Tiers. For more information or to watch previous segments, go to WBNG.com and click on the Around the Tiers tab. Then select Lawyers on Call from the drop-down menu.